Welcome everyone. In this video, what we're going to do is look how to download and install Visual Studio 2019 Enterprise version, as well as get your Azure key and implement or install the Azure key so that you have a licensed copy of this. If you're a Georgian College student, this is available to you. It's in your Azure account here, and all you simply need to do is log in to your account through the college, and then go to your Visual Studio Enterprise 2019, click on that, and you'll get your key. In order to get to this screen, you can go to the home, and there's an icon here that it says Education. Click on Education, and it'll take you to this page, but there's also a software tab. But we're not going to worry about that right now. What we're going to do is stay on this Visual Studio Enterprise 2019 in the middle of the screen. Click that. You want to click this View key and get your copy to clipboard. Once you have that, you can open up your Visual Studio. I have a project opened up already, but what you would want to do is go to where your name is and say Account Settings. And in my case, I've already installed it. So it says Licensed Product Key Applied already. But you'll have something on your screen that asks you to input your license key. And all you have to do after you've copied the key from the Azure website is to paste it in there and go through all the prompts that it asks you for to accept that. So once you've done that, then I would suggest that you turn it off and then restart the Visual Studio again, just to make sure everything is activated. Okay. When you are at the Microsoft Downloads page, you can see right here, Visual Studio Microsoft.com downloads, and you go to the Visual Studio 2019 Enterprise. Once you click on that free trial, it will immediately begin the download right here in the bottom left corner. But since I already have it, I'm going to delete the file and cancel it. And you've been through a software installation before, so go ahead and follow the prompts. And at that point where it asks you for the installation key, you know that you already have that right here in your product key. And you just have to copy that clipboard and install it where it prompts you to. During the installation, you should see a screen that looks something similar to this. Now, you can see by all these check marks that these are all of the different software packages that I have installed on my version of Visual Studio Enterprise 2019. However, I want to point out and be very clear that you do need to have this .NET desktop development. This is going to allow us to run C#. It's probably a good idea for future that you install this ASP.NET in web development and also Azure development. Now, please note that these files are significantly large. So, be patient. It's going to take some time to download all of these things and do the installation. So at this point, I would go ahead and do that. You can see on my computer screen that I have Visual Studio pinned to the bottom of my bar. And I just simply, after the first time I opened it, I just selected unpin from taskbar or pin to taskbar. So that's what I've done. What I want to do is actually create a new project. So I'm going to click on that, and you can see that there's these drop downs in the center, and we are going to be interested obviously in C#, Windows, and as a desktop. Okay. And what that does is it presents you with a number of different templates. And for what we want to do, we're going to choose this one right here, Windows Forms App.net. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and select that. And if you'd like to, you can choose a different location that you want to save this in. And right now, what I'm going to do is save it in my file directory under Test Lessons. And I'm going to just leave the default name Windows Forms App 1. Okay, and that's where it's located in my directory. And then that is my solution name. Okay, and we're going to talk about the solution name. So I'm going to say create. Some concepts I'd like to talk about really quickly. The difference between a project file and an actual solution file. So if I look at my project file, this has an extension of .csproj, so C# project. And it keeps track of the files that make up the project and records various settings for the project itself. There's also this solution file. Okay, and it has an extension of .sln, and that keeps track of the projects that make up the solution itself. So when you open a project file, Visual Studio opens the solution that contains the project. And when you open a solution file, Visual Studio automatically opens all the projects contained in that solution. Okay, so sometimes the project and solution files are stored in the same directory, and sometimes the project file is stored in a subdirectory of the directory that contains the solution file. And so as you can see, when I opened up this project that I just made, the test one, you can see that there's this thing, it's called Solution, Windows Form App 1. Now, if I right click on that and I come down to the bottom and I select Open Folder in File Explorer, this actually takes me to my directory within my hard drive or wherever you're storing the project itself. So what you can see is this file here is the .sln. That is the solution file. And inside, deeper in the directory, you can see this Windows Form App 1.csproj. Now, typically when I'm working in files and I want to open up a new project, if I do it from the file folder itself, I usually open it through the .sln file. So if you're working in this and somebody wants to look at your code, they're typically going to want their .sln file to open up the application. And within that, you should have this other folder that contains all the project files. Okay, so those two are very important. So if I were to go and close my Visual Studio, and now I can go back to the solution file and I can actually open it that way. That's one method of opening up the project. Okay, in here, this is all we're seeing right now. Okay, if I turn that off and I go back to the directory where that project is stored, and I go back in and I select the CS project, and it's going to ask me what I want to open it up with. And I'll just put this one here. It's going to open it up. But the more proper way to open it from the directory is to have actually done it through your solution or .sln file. Now, the last way that I'm going to show you is that anytime you open up Visual Studio, it's actually saved at the top of the list as the project that was most recently opened. In this case, I'm going to select the .sln. And please notice that you're seeing the form in a design view. So if I were to select debug, start without debugging, this form here is the culmination of this entire project file right now. It has no functionality whatsoever other than to minimize, maximize, or close. In the next video, we're going to get more in-depth into Visual Studio and explore all the different options that are available to us, as well as really start to design our very first desktop application.